Ever since I was a child, I used to love to play school. I always had to be the teacher, of course. So I'm from Dinwiddie County. It's a really small town in Southern Virginia. There were not a lot of black teachers, but one that stands out to me is Miss Barksdale. She was my first grade teacher, and I was just so thrilled to have someone that looked like me to teach me. It made me feel like, hey, like this is something that you can do, when you grow up. I just truly wanted to make a difference, and I just love school. Like I've always loved school. I'm a kindergarten teacher, so my students are very little. They can't do a lot of things independently. We have a lot of multi-generational households where grandma or grandpas are raising the kids, and they're not very tech savvy. So it was very difficult. Now that we're back in person, we're kind of the gatekeepers of policy in regards to health, like things coming from the CDC and the local government, which is a new, we have a lot of roles already, but this is something new that we're dealing with. A lot of the times when people get upset about these policies, we're the forefront, we're the face of, what they are upset about. So that's been a very difficult position to be in. Dealing with the students, that's the easiest part of teaching right now. All of the hard things are all of the initiatives coming down, and then also just how everything is so politicized now. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were heroes, people appreciate, like, how do y'all do this? But as time has gone on, it kind of feels like we're the enemy. And that's just it's just very disheartening to hear or see comments about people complain about teachers. Oh, well, if y'all don't want to work, find another job. Like, it's very disheartening to us. We're telling the powers that be, like, this is unrealistic. Like, we can't do this. And just not being listened to is a big factor contributing to burnout. And then the pay does not help. We're just not being compensated for the work that we're doing.
Burnout is basically chronic unmitigated stress in the workplace. Stress is normal. We all experience stress. The issue with burnout is that it's stress that has been going on for some time and hasn't been checked.
I know a lot of teachers before the pandemic that have transitioned out, have gone to other careers. And this was burnout before the pandemic, and now we've added in all of these other things. And then just going through a traumatic event, it's really sent a lot of people over the tipping point. When I see veteran educators leaving, it's scary. I get worried about the state of education. I'm seeing a lot of people my age, saying, this is not worth it. I can go find something else to do. We don't even have the teachers to replace the ones that are leaving. It's just not enough people that are interested in doing the job.
There are more than 105,000 educators currently teaching in Virginia, but there are also thousands of educator vacancies. For the 2021-2022 school year, across 132 divisions, the Virginia Department of Education reports that the highest teacher shortages are in special education, elementary, and middle school education.
I think most educators would say that they entered education to change the world, and that is certainly the spirit that I brought to my job when I first began teaching. My mom was a teacher, my grandmother was a teacher, my brother's a teacher, my cousin, from college down to elementary school. We have all taught on a variety of different levels. I was passionate about history. And when I was able to get students to look into the past of their families and find family stories that they could connect to, that was always a really special moment for both me and for the student. A teacher in a room with students, and what happens there is magic, is absolute magic when it works well. Education is in a crisis across the Commonwealth and across the United States. A lot of people don't understand that teachers spend umpteen hours outside of their contractual obligations to grade papers, to plan lessons, to pull together resources, to talk with students, to talk to parents. All of that is unpaid labor at this point in time. Teachers are paying out of pocket for hundreds of dollars a school year just to provide students with basic things like scissors. I was doing okay, rolling kind of with the pandemic. It was difficult for sure, but when we came back from the pandemic to full-time teaching, our administrators were contact tracing, and so they weren't there to support teachers in the classroom. Teachers are covering a lot of classes for other teachers who aren't able to be in the building. And when you're responsible for a class, you don't have time to do planning, to do grading, to answer emails from parents, to answer emails from students. As you can imagine, our students have been under enormous pressure. We saw a lot of our students really struggling with dysregulated behaviors in the classroom and not having enough support.
There are two areas of symptoms. There's the physiological and then the psychological. So physiologically, you could have things like insomnia, change of appetite, headaches, really stomach aches, more head colds you're noticing, exhaustion. For the psychological symptoms, you could have things like lack of productivity, disinterest, cynicism, quick to anger.
We're asked to be parents, to be nurses, to be social workers, to be teachers, education professionals. And over time, it becomes too much. And so all of that just made it increasingly difficult to go into the classroom every day. I would drive to work and sit in my car and not want to go in. And then just feeling like I wasn't making a difference anymore. Part of my burnout was centered around the fact that I had spent so many years in the classroom. I would encourage younger teachers to take their personal time. Utilize the resources that are available to you, whether that is the employee assistance program or whether it is a matter of sitting down with your administrator and having a difficult conversation about the fact that you are feeling burnt out and you do need more support.
So with burnout, the first thing that someone would want to do is to reach out to a provider. Stress can happen for any reason. So get to the root of the problem. And then the provider can really help to determine what those next steps might be. Some things that might help to lessen the burnout is realizing that one of the issues is lack of control. So trying to figure out how you can get control back in your workplace, how you can get autonomy back in your workplace, how you can potentially get a more supportive environment in your workplace. So those are some things to talk with your employer about. Also bring in your other coworkers and see if they're experiencing similar things and gaining that support from your fellow coworkers.
Unfortunately, I think my experience is not unique at all. I was an early member to this Facebook group called HCPS Back to School Safely, and we began organizing just as community members and educators in response to the pandemic.
It's a place for teachers to talk about things that may be going on in their school, sharing different instructional practices or things to help during this time, and also, some advocacy work and trying to stand up for ourselves and have a voice. So just making it easier for people to become more involved in local government. We have about, 3,000 members, making sure that we are physically present in those environments where those decisions are being made so they can see, hey, these teachers are here and they're invested in this. So we're out there trying to be a presence and trying to show them that we care and we are out here and we want our voices to be heard.
Thank you for watching. Continue to follow Virginia news and stories by subscribing to our VPM YouTube channel.